philosophy of Napoleon begins with power, not as domination, but as the instrument through which order is imposed upon a society prone to chaos. He believed that human nature is ambitious, factional, and prone to internal conflict, and that liberty without structure leads not to freedom but to instability, while equality without hierarchy invites disorder. Authority, in his thought, must be concentrated, decisive, rational, and capable of channeling human energy toward collective objectives. Unlike traditional monarchs, Napoleon did not claim legitimacy from God or tradition. He believed that sovereignty originates in the nation, that the people are the source of authority, but that the execution of that authority must reside in the hands of a singular, disciplined leader. The legitimacy of power, therefore, is derived from the consent of the governed, but its operation is autocratic in structure. Law for Napoleon is not an arbitrary collection of customs or privileges. It is the framework through which society is stabilized, codified, and rationalized. The Napoleonic Code reflects this principle, establishing equality before the law for male citizens, protecting property rights, enforcing contracts, and standardizing civil administration. Legal uniformity is essential because it prevents the fragmentation of society and ensures that the mechanisms of order are predictable, enforceable, and coherent. Hierarchy, in Napoleon's conception, is necessary, but it must be founded on merit rather than birth. Talent, achievement, and service determine one's position, and social mobility is essential to maintain motivation and effectiveness. Meritocracy allows a society to remain both functional and dynamic, balancing hierarchy with opportunity. Religion is instrumental rather than supreme. It is tolerated and even encouraged insofar as it promotes moral behavior, social cohesion, and obedience, but it is always subordinated to the state. History, in Napoleon's philosophy, is the domain of exceptional individuals who embody rational will and decisive action. The progress of nations depends on leaders capable of harnessing collective energy, directing it with intelligence, and stabilizing society. Power, law, merit, religion, and history are interconnected mechanisms that enable civilization to survive and advance, and the measure of their effectiveness is the capacity to maintain order, foster productivity, and channel human ambition toward constructive ends. In this sense, Napoleon's philosophy is practical, teleological, and deeply realist. It does not speculate about ideal forms or moral absolutes, but focuses on the structures, laws, and institutions necessary to achieve stability and progress. It is a philosophy that sees the state as an organic instrument of reason, power as a tool rather than a goal, and the individual as a participant in a hierarchy of competence and responsibility. Every law, every administrative reform, every military campaign is an expression of this philosophy, an attempt to reconcile the energy of revolution with the demands of order, the claims of equality with the necessity of hierarchy, and the impulses of human ambition with the imperatives of collective survival. Napoleon's thought, therefore, is coherent, not because it theorizes perfection, but because it operationalizes principles that can stabilize society, enforce rationality, and produce measurable outcomes. His philosophy is embedded in action, in the construction of institutions, in the exercise of authority, and in the deliberate shaping of history. It is a philosophy of control, of rational hierarchy, of codified law, of merit-based society, of subordinated religion, and of history guided by the exceptional individual, all unified by the central principle that order is the precondition for liberty, achievement, and progress. Power for Napoleon is inseparable from responsibility, for authority that cannot maintain order is meaningless, and force without direction leads only to destruction. He understood that human societies are composed of competing desires, ambitions, and fears, and that left unchanneled, these forces produce chaos, conflict, and civil unrest. Therefore, power must be exercised with both decisiveness and foresight, anticipating not only immediate consequences, but the long-term stability of institutions and communities. The individual ruler embodies this principle. The effectiveness of the state is inseparable from the clarity, intellect, and will of its leader. Napoleon's philosophy is not content with abstract legitimacy. It insists upon actionable capability. sovereign's authority is legitimate only insofar as it enforces order, protects the structures of society, and ensures that laws, institutions, and social hierarchies function as intended. Legitimacy without execution is hollow, and authority without purpose is destructive. The plebiscitary model he developed is a reflection of this synthesis. The people grant authority, but it is the singular will of the ruler that transforms consent into coherent governance. This model resolves the tension between the revolutionary principle of popular sovereignty and the practical necessity of decisive leadership. Within this framework, the state is not a passive container of liberty, but an active agent of civilization, shaping behavior, enforcing law, and mobilizing collective energy. Law itself, as Napoleon conceived it, is both instrument and philosophy. It is not a collection of moral commandments, nor a reflection of natural law in the abstract. It is a rational architecture through which society is organized and stabilized. Codification, predictability, and universality are essential because they prevent arbitrary enforcement, factionalism, and local disparity. The Napoleonic Code, by standardizing civil, commercial, and property law, transforms legal systems into mechanisms of social coherence, ensuring that every individual, regardless of station, is subject to the same principles. Hierarchy in Napoleon's society is justified not by tradition or blood, but by achievement. Merit, competence, and service are the only legitimate determinants of social position. In both civil and military spheres, individuals advance through performance, fostering a dynamic society in which talent is rewarded and inefficiency is disciplined. Meritocracy ensures that hierarchy serves function rather than privilege, balancing authority with opportunity and structure with mobility. Religion in Napoleon's philosophy occupies a practical role. It is a stabilizing force, capable of instilling moral discipline, social cohesion, and obedience, yet it must always remain subordinate to the state. The state defines the scope, limits, and role of religious institutions, and no creed can supersede the authority of law or governance. In this regard, Napoleon's philosophy is neither theocratic nor anti-religious. It is instrumental, recognizing the utility of faith while subordinating it to rational administration. History, for Napoleon, is the stage on which exceptional individuals operate. Societies are not passive products of circumstance alone. They are directed by the vision, intellect, and decisiveness of leaders capable of shaping events. The state, laws, and social structures are tools to channel human ambition, to organize effort, and to enable great men to implement reason and order upon the flux of human action. In this view, human progress is teleological, guided by deliberate intervention rather than random occurrence, and the measure of effectiveness lies in the ability to consolidate order, mobilize resources, and stabilize civilization. Napoleon's philosophy, in essence, is operational. It does not dwell on metaphysical abstractions or moral ideals in isolation. Instead, it defines principles that can be applied to governance, law, social organization, religion, and historical action. Every campaign, every reform, every legal codification is an enactment of this philosophical vision. Order achieved through rational authority, hierarchy justified by merit, law codified and enforced, religion guided by utility, and history shaped by decisive individuals. It is a philosophy rooted in realism, structured around the mechanics of society, and oriented toward outcomes that ensure stability, continuity, and progress. Liberty is not absent in this system, but it exists within the constraints of order. Equality is present, but it is mediated by competence and function. Napoleon's thought represents a synthesis of revolutionary principles and authoritarian pragmatism, combining popular legitimacy with centralized execution, meritocratic mobility with hierarchical order, rational law with social cohesion, and historical teleology with the agency of exceptional individuals. In this way, his philosophy is coherent, dynamic, and endlessly practical, not abstract. And its enduring influence is evident. Wherever states seek to balance freedom with order, authority with legitimacy, and human ambition with societal stability. Napoleon's philosophy also emphasizes the interdependence of institutions, action, and human character. Authority is meaningless without law, law is meaningless without enforcement, and both are meaningless without a population willing to recognize and participate in the structures of governance. He understood that society functions as a system of interlocking mechanisms. Military, administration, judiciary, and civil society must operate in concert. The failure of any one component threatens the stability of all. This systemic understanding differentiates his thought from purely ideological models. It is rooted in operational realism. While revolutionary thinkers emphasized abstract rights, equality, or liberty, Napoleon focused on the practical means by which these ideals could exist without disintegrating into disorder. He observed that freedom untempered by hierarchy invites factionalism, that equality unmoderated by competence invites inefficiency, and that moral or religious ideals unanchored to the authority of the state invite chaos. Thus, his philosophy reconciles these contradictions through the lens of pragmatism: liberty within structure, equality mediated by merit, faith guided by rational administration, and individual ambition channeled by institutional frameworks. In this sense, every reform, codification, and military campaign is a philosophical experiment. The reorganization of the French bureaucracy, the establishment of standardized law across conquered territories, the creation of merit-based educational and military institutions, all are expressions of a coherent worldview that seeks to harmonize human potential with the demands of collective order. Even conquest, in Napoleon's eyes, is a mechanism to extend rational governance, to bring stability, codification, and institutional coherence to societies he viewed as fragmented or disorderly. At the same time, his philosophy is deeply teleological. History is not merely a sequence of events, but a trajectory shaped by human will. Exceptional individuals possessing clarity of thought, decisiveness, and strategic vision are the agents through which historical progress occurs. The state, the law, and the institutions exist to empower these individuals to organize collective action effectively. Human societies, while constrained by material conditions, are malleable under the guidance of reason, hierarchy, and disciplined authority. Napoleon's thought also integrates a nuanced understanding of social psychology. He recognized the importance of symbols, rituals, and public perception in sustaining authority. Plebiscites, ceremonies, and military displays are not merely aesthetic or propagandistic. They serve a philosophical purpose by reinforcing legitimacy, consolidating the collective will, and stabilizing obedience. Authority is thus both practical and performative. It relies on tangible enforcement, but also on the recognition of the governed. Religion, similarly, is both a moral and psychological instrument. By subordinating faith to the state, Napoleon ensures that it functions to promote civic stability rather than challenge the mechanisms of governance. Moral teaching, ritual cohesion, and shared belief become tools for maintaining order, not constraints on power. Finally, Napoleon's philosophy is characterized by its relentless pragmatism. It does not rest on ideals alone, nor on theoretical abstractions. Every principle, centralized authority, legal codification, meritocracy, subordinated religion, and historical agency is evaluated according to its ability to produce concrete outcomes: social stability, institutional coherence, and the effective mobilization of human potential. In this system, philosophy is inseparable from action. Theoretical coherence exists in the realm of practice, and understanding is measured by results rather than speculation. Napoleon's worldview is thus a synthesis of revolutionary legitimacy and authoritarian execution, rationalist law and hierarchical society, individual ambition and collective order, instrumental religion and teleological history. It is coherent because it is applied, dynamic because it is operational, and enduring because it addresses the perennial problem of reconciling human freedom with societal stability. Napoleon's philosophy also integrates a profound understanding of ambition and human motivation. He recognized that individual desire, when properly directed, becomes the engine of social order rather than its enemy. Meritocracy is not merely a principle of fairness. It is a mechanism to channel ambition into constructive activity. By rewarding competence and achievement, Napoleon transforms personal desire for recognition and advancement into service for the state, aligning private interest with collective objectives. This alignment is essential to the stability of institutions, as it creates incentives for efficiency, loyalty, and performance. Conversely, failure to structure hierarchy around merit leads to corruption, stagnation, and resentment. Authority without legitimacy produces compliance at best, rebellion at worst. Hierarchy without competence undermines the very order it seeks to maintain. Napoleon understood these dynamics intuitively and embedded them throughout his administrative, military, and legal reforms. In law, his philosophy manifests as universality and clarity. Laws are codified not to reflect arbitrary power, but to establish predictable structures within which society operates. The Napoleonic Code eliminates ambiguity, protects property, ensures contractual reliability, and enforces civil equality among citizens. These legal structures are both philosophical and practical, representing a rationalist approach to governance that treats human behavior as predictable within institutional frameworks. The predictability of law strengthens authority, reinforces meritocratic principles, and stabilizes social hierarchies. Religion, in Napoleon's thought, serves complementary purposes. While it is subordinate to law and state, it functions as a cultural and moral stabilizer, cultivating obedience, shared ethical norms, and cohesion among citizens. Faith is a tool, a mechanism through which moral behavior is reinforced and social energy is oriented toward collective rather than purely individual aims. Napoleon's integration of religion, law, and authority demonstrates a sophisticated grasp of social psychology. He recognizes that institutions alone cannot enforce order. The beliefs, perceptions, and motivations of the populace must also be accounted for. History, in his philosophy, is both deterministic and agent-driven. While material conditions and societal structures shape the possibilities of action, exceptional individuals, those with clarity of vision, decisiveness, and strategic genius, can redirect the course of events. The state, laws, and hierarchies exist to empower these individuals, enabling them to act effectively and to channel collective energies toward the maintenance and expansion of order. The interplay between individual agency and structural mechanisms is central to Napoleon's understanding of progress, governance, and social stability. Moreover, Napoleon's philosophy is fundamentally teleological. Institutions, laws, hierarchies, and authority are not ends in themselves. They are instruments through which civilization advances. Stability, productivity, and order are the measures of philosophical success. A system that fails to achieve these outcomes is, by definition, philosophically defective. This practical orientation distinguishes Napoleon from thinkers whose work is primarily theoretical. His thought is grounded in results, in the tangible effects of policy, law, and governance. Every reform, every campaign, every codification of law is a test of philosophical principles applied in the real world. Centralized authority, plebiscitary legitimacy, codified law, meritocracy, subordinated religion, and historical agency are not abstract ideals, they are operational tools. The philosophy of Napoleon, therefore, is coherent because it is entirely functional. It reconciles human ambition with collective stability, freedom with hierarchy, legitimacy with autocracy, and morality with pragmatism. It is dynamic because it adapts to circumstances while remaining true to its core principles. It is enduring because it addresses the perennial challenge of structuring society in a way that aligns human behavior with social necessity, ensuring that energy, ambition, and intellect are harnessed to constructive ends rather than dissipated into chaos. Napoleon's philosophy also emphasizes the relationship between leadership and vision. He perceived that the success of a state depends not merely on the existence of laws, institutions, or hierarchies, but on the capacity of leaders to perceive the broader trajectory of history and to act decisively within it. Leadership, in this framework, is both moral and technical. It requires the intelligence to identify the causes of disorder, the foresight to anticipate challenges, and the will to implement solutions even in the face of resistance. Exceptional individuals shape the environment around them by coordinating the energies of the population, structuring institutions, and enforcing law consistently. In Napoleon's thought, these leaders are not tyrants in the traditional sense. They are instruments through which reason and order manifest in society. His understanding of ambition extends beyond individual advancement to the mobilization of collective effort. Citizens are motivated by personal interests, desire for recognition, and social incentives, yet when these impulses are directed toward the objectives of the state, they become productive forces rather than sources of disorder. Meritocracy serves as the key mechanism for this alignment. By ensuring that advancement is tied to ability and performance, Napoleon creates a system in which personal ambition reinforces collective goals. This alignment reduces resentment, discourages nepotism, and maximizes efficiency. Every administrative reform, military promotion, and educational initiative is therefore a philosophical act. It structures human behavior to serve reason, order, and social stability. Furthermore, Napoleon's thought integrates a nuanced theory of perception and symbolism. Authority is not only executed, it is recognized, internalized, and legitimized through ritual, ceremony, and visible demonstration. Public recognition, military parades, codified titles, and ceremonial structures are not mere displays. They function philosophically to reinforce the legitimacy of power, the cohesion of social hierarchies, and the alignment of citizens' behavior with the objectives of the state. In parallel, religion operates as a mechanism of moral and psychological governance. While faith does not determine law or authority, it cultivates obedience, shared values, and ethical norms that stabilize society. Religion is instrumental. It channels behavior, reinforces hierarchy, and strengthens social cohesion, while remaining subordinate to codified law and the executive will. History, in Napoleon's philosophy, is a process of potentiality realized by action. While structural forces, geography, and resources constrain societies, the decisive interventions of exceptional individuals determine outcomes. Leaders of vision direct the flow of events, marshal collective energy, and translate abstract principles into concrete results. Institutions are the medium through which these interventions are possible, and the efficacy of a state is measured by its ability to empower such action. This teleological perspective gives Napoleon's philosophy both coherence and urgency. It demands results, assesses effectiveness pragmatically, and evaluates the success of laws, hierarchies, and authority according to their ability to maintain order and advance civilization. Theory is inseparable from practice. Principles exist to be applied. Outcomes are the measure of truth, and philosophy is inseparable from governance. In sum, Napoleon's thought is a synthesis of revolutionary principles and authoritarian execution. It unites the legitimacy of popular consent with centralized authority, equality of opportunity with hierarchical structure, rational law with social stability, instrumental religion with civic cohesion, and historical teleology with individual agency. It is pragmatic yet systematic, realist yet aspirational, operational yet philosophically coherent. Every law codified, every reform enacted, every military campaign undertaken is an expression of this worldview. Napoleon's philosophy, therefore, is both conceptual and practical, embedded in the mechanisms of governance, the psychology of society, and the teleology of history. It addresses the perennial tension between freedom and order, ambition and responsibility, legitimacy and authority, providing a framework in which human behavior is structured, human potential is directed, and civilization is advanced. Napoleon's philosophy also reflects a profound understanding of the interplay between individual will and societal structure. He recognized that human behavior cannot be directed solely by abstract laws or moral injunctions. It requires alignment between personal ambition, institutional incentives, and social norms. By structuring society around meritocracy, codified law, and hierarchical authority, Napoleon creates channels through which ambition serves the collective rather than destabilizing it. Individuals are motivated by recognition, advancement, and tangible rewards, yet the design of institutions ensures that these motivations are harnessed toward productive ends. This dynamic forms the core of his practical philosophy, the reconciliation of personal desire with societal order. In governance, he emphasizes foresight and adaptability. Laws, hierarchies, and administrative mechanisms are not static. They are instruments to be adjusted according to circumstance, always with the aim of preserving stability and consolidating rational authority. The Napoleonic Code, for instance, is both a legal framework and a philosophical tool. It unifies diverse territories under predictable law, resolves local disputes of privilege, protects property rights, and creates consistency across social interactions. Its purpose is not moral perfection, but functional coherence, a predictable environment in which citizens understand their rights and responsibilities, institutions operate efficiently, and authority is enforceable. Religion in Napoleon's system exemplifies his instrumental rationality. He acknowledges the ethical and psychological power of faith, but consistently places it under the authority of the state. Religious institutions teach morality, reinforce obedience, and provide cohesion, yet they do not challenge the codified laws or the executive will. Faith, in this sense, is an instrument of social order, integrated into the broader framework of governance rather than operating independently. Napoleon's philosophy is also deeply historical. He conceives of human events as a combination of structural forces and exceptional agency. While geography, economy, and social organization constrain action, decisive individuals shape the trajectory of societies. Leaders with clarity of purpose and the capacity to mobilize human energies can alter historical outcomes, consolidate institutions, and stabilize civilizations. The state and its laws exist as instruments to empower such leaders, enabling them to translate potential into realized order. This perspective renders history teleological in nature. Progress is measurable, leadership is decisive, and civilization advances through deliberate intervention rather than random drift. Furthermore, Napoleon internalizes a sophisticated theory of perception and legitimacy. Authority is reinforced not only through enforcement, but also through the recognition and internalization of power by the populace. Rituals, ceremonies, titles, and public displays are philosophical instruments as well as political tools. They cultivate loyalty, legitimize hierarchical structures, and align citizens' perception with the objectives of governance. His approach integrates psychology with statecraft. Law, hierarchy, and authority function more effectively when recognized and accepted by those subject to them. Ambition, law, religion, history, and authority are thus intertwined into a coherent system. Liberty is present within the constraints of order. Equality exists insofar as merit, not birth, determines advancement. Authority is legitimate through consent, but centralized in execution, and the individual is empowered only within the structures that enable stability and progress. Napoleon's philosophy is not abstract idealism, it is applied realism. It does not ask what ought to exist in theory, but what can function in practice to stabilize societies, align human behavior, and channel the forces of ambition and intelligence toward constructive ends. Every reform, every military strategy, every codification of law represents the enactment of this philosophical framework. Napoleon's thought demonstrates that philosophy can be operational, that ideas, when rigorously applied, can shape societies, direct behavior, and produce historical outcomes. It is coherent, functional, and teleological, emphasizing that order is the precondition for liberty, merit is the justification for hierarchy, law is the medium through which society operates, and exceptional individuals are the instruments through which history is realized. His philosophy addresses the perennial tension between freedom and order, aspiration and responsibility, legitimacy and authority, providing a framework in which human energy, institutional design, and historical agency are harmonized to maintain civilization and advance human potential. Napoleon's philosophy further emphasizes the necessity of balance between flexibility and structure. While he believed in centralized authority, he also recognized that rigid institutions that cannot adapt to circumstances are destined to fail. Laws, hierarchies, and administrative frameworks must be sufficiently flexible to respond to internal and external pressures, yet stable enough to maintain coherence and predictability. This principle governs his approach to both civil administration and military command, reflecting the broader philosophical idea that order is dynamic rather than static. Napoleon saw society as a living system composed of interconnected parts. law, governance, military organization, economy, and culture, all of which must operate harmoniously. Disruption in one domain threatens the stability of the entire system. Consequently, his reforms were holistic, designed to ensure that every aspect of governance reinforced the others. Centralized power provides direction, meritocratic hierarchy motivates efficiency, codified law enforces predictable behavior, and social institutions such as education and religion cultivate loyalty and cohesion. Each component is philosophical as well as practical, reinforcing the principles of order, rationality, and purposeful action. Napoleon's view of human nature underpins his entire philosophical system. He considered people capable of great creativity and achievement, but also subject to passions, envy, and factionalism. This duality explains why liberty cannot exist without authority. Freedom must be exercised within structures that channel human energy productively. Authority is not merely coercive. It is the organizing principle that allows human potential to flourish in a collective context. Similarly, meritocracy is not a moral abstraction, but a mechanism to align individual ambition with societal objectives. By rewarding competence and performance, the system transforms personal desire into a force for institutional stability and progress. Failure to reward merit, by contrast, produces stagnation, resentment, and inefficiency. In religion, Napoleon integrates social psychology with governance. Faith is recognized as a source of moral discipline, social cohesion, and ethical orientation, yet it is always subordinated to state authority. The law, institutions, and executive will remain supreme. Religion is instrumental, reinforcing obedience and ethical norms without challenging the rational structures of society. Napoleon's philosophy also places great emphasis on perception and legitimacy. Authority is reinforced not only through enforcement, but also through recognition and acceptance. Public rituals, ceremonial titles, military pageantry, and symbolic acts are philosophical instruments. They cultivate collective belief in legitimacy, align citizens' perceptions with institutional structures, and reinforce the authority necessary for order. The aesthetics of power, in this sense, are inseparable from its function. The visible affirmation of authority ensures that it is internalized and respected, stabilizing governance at both conscious and subconscious levels. History, in Napoleon's thought, is not a series of accidental events, but a theater in which exceptional individuals operate within structural constraints. Leaders with vision, decisiveness, and strategic insight can shape events, mobilize societies, and alter trajectories. Institutions and laws exist to empower these individuals, translating potential into realized order. This teleological conception underscores his entire philosophy. Civilization advances through deliberate, rational, and hierarchical action, directed by those capable of understanding and managing the forces of human society. Napoleon's philosophy is therefore a synthesis of revolutionary principles and authoritarian pragmatism. Popular sovereignty exists in principle, but governance requires centralized execution. Merit replaces birth as the criterion of advancement, yet hierarchy ensures that society remains ordered. Law codifies and standardizes behavior, yet institutions allow flexibility in response to circumstance. Religion stabilizes morality and obedience, yet remains subordinate to the state. History is guided by human agency, yet constrained by rational institutions and structural realities. Every reform, every legal codification, every campaign, every administrative adjustment represents the operationalization of these philosophical principles. Napoleon's thought demonstrates that philosophy is not merely theoretical, but must be applied. The measure of its truth lies in its capacity to stabilize society, harmonize human behavior, and produce tangible results. Order is the precondition for liberty, merit justifies hierarchy, law provides structure for human action, religion channels morality, and historical agency realizes civilization. In this integrated framework, power, authority, law, social hierarchy, and individual ambition are not conflicting forces but interdependent mechanisms, each reinforcing the others to achieve coherent governance, productive society, and historical progress. Napoleon's philosophy also examines the intricate dynamics between individual initiative and collective organization. He recognized that human energy, if left unguided, often leads to disorder, competition, and fragmentation. Ambition and desire, while natural and necessary for progress, must be channeled within structures that harmonize personal incentives with societal objectives. Meritocracy, in this sense, is not simply a principle of fairness, but a philosophical mechanism for aligning private drive with the public good. By rewarding competence and achievement, the system converts personal ambition into a stabilizing force, transforming potential sources of conflict into engines of productivity and order. This principle applies not only to the military or bureaucracy, but to all social institutions. Education, administration, commerce, and civic life are designed to encourage achievement, discipline, and adherence to codified rules, ensuring that individual actions contribute to the stability and advancement of society rather than undermining it. Napoleon's philosophy further emphasizes the interdependence of law and hierarchy. Codified law provides predictability, legitimacy, and a framework for social interaction, while hierarchical structures ensure that these laws are enforced effectively and consistently. Law without authority is ineffectual. Authority without law is arbitrary. Their integration is essential for both stability and the realization of meritocratic principles. The Napoleonic Code exemplifies this synthesis. It establishes clear, rational, and universal rules while creating a framework in which competent individuals can exercise judgment, responsibility, and leadership. Religion, in Napoleon's philosophical system, functions as both a stabilizer and a motivator. While subordinate to the state, religion cultivates moral discipline, obedience, and ethical cohesion. It provides a shared framework of values that aligns citizens' behavior with the objectives of governance, creating internalized incentives for lawful and constructive action. By subordinating religion to civil authority, Napoleon ensures that faith reinforces rather than challenges the rational structures of governance, integrating moral influence into a broader system of social control and stability. History for Napoleon is shaped through the interplay of structural conditions and exceptional leadership. Societies are constrained by geography, resources, and institutional frameworks, yet the decisive interventions of individuals with vision and strategic capacity determine outcomes. Institutions, laws, and hierarchies exist to empower these individuals, enabling them to direct collective energy toward the realization of civilization, order, and progress. Leadership is thus both philosophical and practical. It requires insight, foresight, and the ability to coordinate complex systems of human behavior, transforming potential into achievement. Napoleon's thought also addresses the psychology of legitimacy and perception. Authority is reinforced not solely by enforcement, but by recognition, acceptance, and internalization among the governed. Rituals, ceremonies, public symbolism, and visible demonstrations of power function as philosophical instruments, shaping perception, reinforcing obedience, and consolidating hierarchical structures. The legitimacy of power, therefore, is both practical and perceptual. It relies on effective action and on the population's recognition of its necessity and validity. At its core, Napoleon's philosophy is operational and teleological. Every law, institution, reform, and campaign is evaluated according to its capacity to maintain order, direct human behavior, and produce measurable outcomes. Principles are not abstract ideals. They are instruments applied in the governance of society. The philosophy is coherent because it integrates power, law, hierarchy, merit, religion, and historical agency into a unified framework. Liberty is preserved within the boundaries of order. Equality exists insofar as it is mediated by competence. Authority is legitimate when exercised decisively and consistently. Ambition is productive when aligned with institutional incentives. Faith is stabilizing when subordinated to civil authority, and history advances through the rational agency of exceptional individuals. Napoleon's thought is therefore simultaneously realist and aspirational, pragmatic and systematic, operational and philosophical. Its coherence emerges from the alignment of principles with practice, its dynamism from its adaptability to circumstances, and its endurance from its capacity to reconcile human ambition with social necessity, freedom with hierarchy, and individual agency with collective order. Every reform, every administrative adjustment, every codification, and every strategic action is an enactment of this philosophical vision, demonstrating that philosophy, when applied rigorously, can shape society, guide human behavior, and influence the course of history. Napoleon's philosophy also involves a subtle yet powerful analysis of the limits of human organization and the inevitability of tension between freedom and control. He understood that complete liberty for all individuals is incompatible with stable governance, and that absolute authority without legitimacy provokes resistance and rebellion. The genius of his philosophy lies in reconciling these tensions. Freedom exists insofar as it can be exercised within structures that channel human behavior productively. Authority exists insofar as it is both recognized and executed decisively. Law, hierarchy, and institutional frameworks serve as the mediating forces between these competing impulses. By codifying behavior, standardizing administration, and enforcing meritocracy, Napoleon creates a system in which personal initiative and collective stability coexist. Every individual is given the opportunity to achieve and advance, yet within boundaries that prevent the fragmentation of social order. Meritocracy is not merely a principle of justice, it is the operational mechanism through which ambition becomes a stabilizing force. Rewarding competence ensures that energy, talent, and intellect are harnessed toward the objectives of the state, while failure to recognize merit threatens stagnation, inefficiency, and unrest. Religion, as a subordinate yet instrumental force, reinforces this system by instilling shared moral norms and ethical discipline. It functions to align individual conduct with collective goals, supporting obedience and civic cohesion while remaining under the control of the state. This integration of religion, law, and hierarchy demonstrates Napoleon's understanding that social order cannot be maintained by force alone. It requires internalized norms, shared values, and recognition of legitimate authority. History, in Napoleon's framework, is both the arena and the measure of philosophy. Structural constraints, geography, resources, and institutional capacity define possibilities, but exceptional individuals actualize potential, guiding societies along trajectories of order and progress. Leaders with vision, intelligence, and decisiveness are the instruments through which rational governance manifests. Institutions, codified laws, and hierarchical organization provide the medium for these interventions, translating personal capability into social stability. Napoleon's thought emphasizes causality and teleology. Actions are not isolated, outcomes are measurable, and philosophical principles are validated through their effect on order, productivity, and the cohesion of society. Power in this context is neither inherently virtuous nor corrupt. It is a tool, and its philosophical legitimacy is determined by its capacity to achieve the ends of stability, coordination, and advancement. Authority and law are inseparable, merit and hierarchy are mutually reinforcing, religion and morality are instrumental, and historical agency validates all structures. Napoleon's philosophy is thus systematic, operational, and applied. It is not speculative or abstract, it is functional and evaluative. Each policy, reform, and military campaign is both a test and an enactment of philosophical principles. Its coherence lies in the alignment of institutions, law, and leadership to achieve measurable outcomes. Its dynamism lies in its capacity to adjust to changing circumstances without undermining its core objectives. Its endurance lies in its ability to reconcile freedom with hierarchy, ambition with order, and individual agency with collective stability. Napoleon's vision presents a model of governance in which every aspect of society, law, authority, hierarchy, merit, religion, and historical action, is integrated into a unified framework of philosophical and practical coherence. Liberty is preserved within structured boundaries, equality is operationalized through merit, authority is legitimate and decisive, ambition is directed toward productive ends, faith reinforces cohesion, and history advances through the rational agency of exceptional individuals. Every reform, codification, and act of governance embodies these principles, demonstrating that philosophy, when rigorously applied, can shape societies, guide behavior, and influence the course of civilizations. The philosophy of Napoleon, therefore, is both realist and aspirational, pragmatic and systematic, operational and philosophical, addressing the perennial challenges of human society by harmonizing human ambition with social necessity, freedom with authority, and individual action with collective order. Napoleon's philosophy also incorporates a nuanced understanding of ambition and human psychology, recognizing that individuals are motivated by a mixture of desire for recognition, fear of failure, and pursuit of advantage. These impulses, left unchanneled, create social instability, factionalism, and conflict. By integrating meritocracy, law, and hierarchical authority, Napoleon designed systems that align personal motivation with collective objectives. Ambition becomes a force for productivity rather than disruption, as individuals seeking advancement are compelled to act within the structures of rational governance. Every promotion, every administrative appointment, every legal sanction operates as a philosophical instrument to harmonize private interest with public order. His approach extends beyond mere governance into the management of perception and legitimacy. Authority is reinforced not only through enforcement, but through recognition, ritual, and symbolic affirmation. Military parades, ceremonial titles, codified procedures, and visible acts of leadership cultivate collective acknowledgement of legitimate power, embedding authority into the consciousness of society. This attention to perception demonstrates that philosophy in Napoleon's system is not confined to abstract principles, but is enacted through human behavior, social norms, and cultural recognition. Religion, in this framework, serves as both moral compass and stabilizing instrument. Subordinate to the state, it aligns citizens' ethical behavior with the objectives of governance, reinforcing obedience, shared values, and civic responsibility. While faith remains voluntary, its social function is integral. It channels moral energy, promotes cohesion, and supports institutional authority. History, for Napoleon, is the proving ground for philosophical ideas. Societies are shaped by structural conditions, but the decisive agency of exceptional individuals determines outcomes. Leaders with vision, clarity, and strategic intelligence translate potential into realized order. Institutions exist to empower these agents. Codified law provides predictable environments for action, and hierarchical structures coordinate effort. The measurement of philosophical efficacy lies in tangible outcomes: stability, efficiency, cohesion, and the effective mobilization of human potential. Napoleon's thought reconciles apparent contradictions. Liberty is preserved, but within constraints that prevent chaos. Equality exists in opportunity, but hierarchies ensure coordination. Authority is legitimate and centralized, yet derived from popular consent. Ambition is encouraged, yet directed toward collective ends. Religion reinforces morality, yet remains subordinate to law. History advances through rational agency, yet is grounded in the constraints of structure and circumstance. Every element, law, hierarchy, merit, religion, authority, and historical action, is interdependent, forming a coherent system that addresses the perennial challenges of human society. Philosophy is inseparable from practice. Principles are validated by their capacity to organize human behavior, maintain social order, and produce historical results. This operational approach makes Napoleon's thought both practical and systematic, realist and aspirational, dynamic and enduring. Every reform, every codification, every strategic decision exemplifies this philosophy. The state becomes the instrument through which order, productivity, and civilization are maintained. Individuals function within rational hierarchies that reward competence and align ambition with societal objectives. Laws provide clarity, predictability, and structure. Religion instills ethical cohesion without undermining authority. Historical action is guided by the rational agency of exceptional leaders who translate potential into realized order. The philosophy of Napoleon is thus coherent, applied, and teleological, emphasizing that stability is the prerequisite for liberty. Merit is the justification for hierarchy, law structures human behavior, religion reinforces morality, and exceptional agency shapes history. Its enduring relevance lies in its systematic integration of human motivation, institutional design, and leadership, providing a framework in which societies can harmonize individual energy with collective necessity, ambition with order, freedom with authority, and action with outcome. Napoleon's philosophy also examines the tension between idealism and pragmatism, recognizing that principles must be grounded in the realities of human behavior. He understood that abstract notions of liberty, equality, or morality, when pursued without consideration of structure and consequence, lead to disorder and inefficiency. Therefore, his philosophy emphasizes the practical application of principles. Laws must be enforceable, hierarchies must be effective, merit must be recognized, and authority must be both legitimate and executable. Liberty is preserved not as an unbounded abstraction, but as a functional condition, existing within structures that enable social stability and productive action. Equality is operationalized through opportunity rather than inheritance, ensuring that talent, diligence, and achievement determine advancement while maintaining social coherence. Authority is legitimized by consent, but centralized in execution, ensuring that governance is decisive and coherent. Ambition is encouraged and rewarded, yet channeled within institutional frameworks that align individual interest with collective well-being. Religion is instrumental, fostering moral discipline, cohesion, and ethical alignment while remaining subordinate to civil authority. History is understood as the product of rational agency within structural constraints, guided by leaders capable of harnessing the potential of societies and shaping events with foresight and intelligence. Napoleon's philosophy integrates these elements into a unified system, wherein each component reinforces the others. Law enables authority, merit justifies hierarchy, religion supports cohesion, and historical agency validates institutional design. The interplay of these forces produces a coherent mechanism for societal order, demonstrating that philosophy can be both conceptual and operational, abstract in principle, yet applied in practice. This system is dynamic, capable of adapting to new circumstances while remaining true to its core principles. Its endurance lies in its capacity to reconcile human freedom with societal necessity, personal ambition with institutional stability, and theoretical principles with practical outcomes. Every reform enacted, every law codified, every administrative adjustment, and every military campaign is both a test and a demonstration of these philosophical principles. The coherence of Napoleon's thought emerges from the alignment of individual action, institutional frameworks, and historical purpose. Every law, hierarchy, and reform functions as part of a broader rational system aimed at stabilizing society, directing human behavior, and advancing civilization. Power is understood not as an end, but as a tool for achieving order. Merit is not only a moral principle, but a practical mechanism for productivity. Authority is legitimized not by tradition alone, but by effectiveness and popular recognition. Religion operates instrumentally to reinforce ethics and cohesion, and historical action validates the design of institutions and the alignment of human energy. Napoleon's philosophy is teleological. Outcomes, results, and the effective functioning of society measure the validity of principles. Stability is the precondition for liberty, merit justifies hierarchy, law structures behavior, religion aligns morality, and exceptional agency directs history. His thought is simultaneously realist and aspirational, pragmatic and systematic, applied and philosophical. It demonstrates that human societies can be organized to harmonize individual potential with collective necessity, to channel ambition toward productive ends, and to align freedom with structure. Napoleon's philosophy is therefore enduring, coherent, and operational, providing a framework in which governance, law, social hierarchy, merit, religion, and historical agency function together to produce stable, efficient, and progressive societies. Every aspect of society, from legal codification to military organization, from educational reform to ceremonial ritual, exemplifies this philosophy, demonstrating that ideas, when rigorously applied, can shape the course of civilization, guide human behavior, and achieve measurable outcomes in the organization and advancement of society. Napoleon's philosophy also incorporates an understanding of the interplay between ambition, discipline, and social cohesion. He recognized that unchecked desire and self-interest, while natural, produce instability and fragmentation, yet disciplined ambition, when aligned with structured hierarchies and codified law, becomes a driving force for progress and order. Individuals strive for recognition, advancement, and achievement, but these impulses are rendered productive only when mediated by meritocratic principles and institutional frameworks. Meritocracy ensures that talent, effort, and capability are rewarded, transforming ambition from a potential source of conflict into a mechanism for societal cohesion and effective governance. Similarly, law functions not merely as an abstract ideal, but as an operational instrument that structures behavior, enforces predictability, and creates the conditions necessary for authority to operate effectively. The Napoleonic Code, for example, codifies rights and obligations in a way that stabilizes social interactions, protects property, ensures contractual reliability, and mediates disputes without leaving them subject to arbitrary interpretation or personal influence. Religion, in this system, complements law by instilling ethical norms, moral discipline, and civic responsibility, yet remains subordinated to civil authority. Its function is social and psychological, reinforcing obedience, cohesion, and shared values while remaining within the bounds defined by rational governance. History, in Napoleon's conception, is the theater in which these mechanisms are realized. Structural conditions such as geography, economy, and institutional capacity define the possibilities of human action, yet exceptional individuals, possessing vision, decisiveness, and intelligence, are able to shape outcomes within these constraints. Leaders act as the agents of rational intervention, directing collective energies, enforcing law, and consolidating authority to maintain stability and advance civilization. This teleological perspective permeates every element of Napoleon's philosophy. Institutions, hierarchies, laws, religion, and individual initiative are all evaluated according to their effectiveness in producing social order and historical progress. Power is understood instrumentally rather than morally. Its value is measured by its capacity to stabilize, organize, and mobilize. Authority is legitimate when recognized and enacted decisively. Meritocracy is functional when it channels ambition. Law is valid when it structures society. And history validates philosophy when rational agency produces coherent and lasting outcomes. Napoleon's philosophy is both pragmatic and systematic, realist and aspirational, operational and conceptual. Every reform, administrative adjustment, legal codification, and military strategy exemplifies the application of these principles. The coherence of his thought arises from the integration of individual agency with structural frameworks, of ambition with discipline, of freedom with order, and of legitimacy with centralized execution. Liberty exists within boundaries that prevent chaos. Equality is operationalized through merit and opportunity. Authority is both centralized and legitimate. Ambition is productive rather than destructive. Religion aligns morality with civic cohesion. And historical outcomes are shaped by deliberate intervention rather than chance. His philosophy is enduring because it addresses fundamental challenges of human society: how to reconcile personal freedom with collective order, how to harmonize ambition with stability, how to ensure law is both respected and effective, how to mobilize human potential toward productive ends, and how to structure institutions so that exceptional individuals can direct the course of history. Napoleon's thought demonstrates that philosophy is not merely speculative but applied, and that ideas, when rigorously enacted, can shape societies, guide behavior, and produce measurable historical outcomes. Every action, policy, and institution is a manifestation of this worldview, integrating law, merit, authority, religion, ambition, and historical agency into a unified framework of coherence, functionality, and teleology. The philosophy of Napoleon, therefore, is simultaneously operational and conceptual, practical and aspirational, systematic and dynamic, offering a comprehensive vision of governance, society, and historical progress that harmonizes individual energy with collective necessity, freedom with authority, and ambition with order. Napoleon's philosophy also considers the delicate equilibrium between innovation and tradition. He recognized that progress cannot be achieved by rigid adherence to inherited customs, yet it cannot succeed if society lacks continuity and structure. Laws, hierarchies, and institutions must evolve to reflect changing circumstances while preserving core principles that maintain stability. This dynamic balance ensures that societies remain resilient, capable of adaptation without succumbing to chaos. Meritocracy exemplifies this principle. Advancement is determined by ability and achievement rather than birthright, enabling innovation and the emergence of talent, while the hierarchical structure channels these innovations into coherent social and political action. Similarly, law is both preservative and adaptive, codifying enduring principles of justice, property, and civil order, while allowing for flexibility in implementation to accommodate new circumstances, technologies, or social conditions. Napoleon also recognized the psychological dimensions of governance. Authority is not merely exercised, it is perceived and internalized by the governed. Legitimacy depends as much on recognition, ritual, and symbolism as it does on enforcement. Ceremonies, titles, military pageantry, and public demonstrations of leadership reinforce collective belief in legitimate authority, embedding the structures of governance into the consciousness of society. In this way, perception becomes a tool of philosophical and political operation, ensuring that law and hierarchy are respected and internalized. Religion, subordinated yet functional, reinforces social cohesion and moral alignment. Faith, while not determinative of governance, provides a framework for ethical behavior, instilling discipline, promoting obedience, and supporting the legitimacy of institutional authority. Religion operates as a stabilizing agent, channeling human behavior in ways that complement civil law and meritocratic structures. History, in Napoleon's understanding, validates the application of philosophy. Structural conditions, geography, economy, culture, establish possibilities, yet exceptional individuals realize potential, shaping events and institutions through rational, strategic action. Leaders translate abstract principles into concrete outcomes, guiding collective effort, enforcing law, and ensuring that ambition, talent, and energy are aligned with social objectives. Napoleon's philosophy is therefore both teleological and operational. Its measure lies in results, its coherence in the alignment of principles with practice, and its endurance in the integration of individual agency, institutional structure, and historical purpose. Power is a tool, authority is legitimate when effective, merit channels ambition, law structures behavior, religion reinforces morality, and historical agency transforms potential into realized order. Every reform, codification, military campaign, and administrative adjustment is a practical enactment of this integrated philosophy. The system harmonizes freedom with structure, ambition with discipline, equality with hierarchy, and individual initiative with collective stability. Napoleon's thought demonstrates that philosophy, when rigorously applied, is not an abstract exercise but a framework for organizing societies, guiding human behavior, and shaping history. Its principles are coherent, pragmatic, and enduring, emphasizing that social order is the precondition for liberty, merit justifies hierarchy, law organizes action, religion aligns morality, and history is directed through rational agency. Every action, institution, and law reflects this philosophy, providing a comprehensive vision of governance and civilization in which human potential, structural design, and historical purpose are integrated into a unified system of stability, productivity, and progress. Napoleon's philosophy is therefore operational, systemic, and teleological, addressing the perennial challenges of human society by harmonizing individual desire with collective necessity, freedom with authority, ambition with order, and agency with historical outcomes. Napoleon's philosophy also explores the relationship between discipline and initiative, recognizing that human societies function optimally when personal creativity and ambition are guided by structured frameworks. Discipline is not imposed merely to restrict action. It is a mechanism for channeling individual energy toward collective objectives. Institutions, hierarchies, and codified laws provide the structure within which initiative becomes productive rather than destructive. Individuals are motivated to excel, innovate, and achieve, yet their actions are harmonized with the broader requirements of social stability and historical progress. In the military sphere, this principle manifests with particular clarity. Officers and soldiers advance according to merit, their talents and courage harnessed to achieve strategic objectives, and their loyalty reinforced by clear hierarchies and disciplined structures. This operationalization of philosophy demonstrates the consistency between governance, law, and human psychology. Civil administration functions on the same principles. Bureaucrats, judges, and administrators are evaluated based on competence and performance. Merit-based advancement ensures efficiency, aligns personal ambition with societal goals, and reinforces the legitimacy of hierarchical authority. Law, codified and universal, provides predictability and consistency, ensuring that every citizen, regardless of status, is subject to the same principles. Religion, subordinated yet functional, complements these mechanisms by fostering ethical norms, civic responsibility, and moral cohesion, creating a cultural environment in which authority is recognized and obeyed. Napoleon's understanding of history reflects the same integration of structure and agency. Societies are constrained by geography, resources, and cultural conditions, yet the decisive intervention of exceptional leaders transforms potential into realized order. Laws, institutions, hierarchies, and meritocratic principles create the conditions under which rational action produces stability, productivity, and historical progress. Leadership, therefore, is both practical and philosophical, requiring vision, decisiveness, and the ability to marshal human energy within structured frameworks. Perception and legitimacy remain central to this system. Authority is not solely enforced, it is recognized, internalized, and symbolically reinforced. Ceremonial acts, public titles, visible demonstrations of competence, and military pageantry cultivate collective acknowledgement of power and its legitimacy, embedding philosophical principles into the lived experience of society. Napoleon's philosophy is also inherently teleological. Its measure is effectiveness, stability, social cohesion, productivity, and the capacity to mobilize human potential. Principles exist to produce outcomes. Philosophy is validated through its application. Order is the prerequisite for liberty, merit the justification for hierarchy, law the structure for behavior, religion the reinforcement of morality, and historical agency the realization of civilization. This integration makes Napoleon's thought coherent, systematic, and enduring. Every reform, codification, administrative innovation, and military strategy enacts these principles, demonstrating that ideas, when rigorously applied, can organize society, guide behavior, and influence history. Liberty exists within structured boundaries. Equality is mediated by merit. Authority is centralized yet legitimate. Ambition is productive and aligned with social objectives. Religion stabilizes morals without overriding law, and historical outcomes are shaped through rational agency. Napoleon's philosophy is pragmatic, applied, and conceptual simultaneously, providing a comprehensive vision of governance, institutional design, and human behavior. It harmonizes individual energy with collective necessity, freedom with authority, ambition with order, and personal initiative with historical purpose. Its enduring relevance lies in its capacity to integrate law, hierarchy, merit, religion, authority, ambition, and historical agency into a coherent system capable of stabilizing societies, directing human effort, and producing progressive outcomes over time. Napoleon's philosophy extends deeply into the domain of education and the cultivation of talent, reflecting his belief that human potential must be systematically developed and directed. Education is not merely the transmission of knowledge, but the formation of disciplined, competent, and morally aligned citizens capable of contributing to the stability and progress of society. Schools, academies, and military institutions serve as instruments to identify talent, instill civic and moral values, and prepare individuals for positions of responsibility within the meritocratic hierarchy. By structuring education in this way, Napoleon ensures that the most capable individuals are recognized and advanced, creating a continual renewal of leadership and expertise across civil and military institutions. The integration of education with governance exemplifies his philosophy's operational character. Human potential is cultivated, channeled, and applied within a coherent institutional framework that maximizes both personal achievement and collective stability. In the legal sphere, the codification of laws represents another manifestation of this philosophy. The Napoleonic Code standardizes civil, commercial, and property law across territories, providing clarity, predictability, and fairness. Laws are not arbitrary decrees, but rational instruments to structure social interactions, resolve disputes, and protect rights in a way that sustains order. Codification ensures that authority is exercised consistently, hierarchies function effectively, and individual actions align with collective expectations. Law, meritocracy, and education operate in tandem. Educated and capable citizens understand, navigate, and uphold legal frameworks, while meritocratic promotion ensures that those in positions of authority act competently, reinforcing stability. Napoleon's philosophy also emphasizes the dynamic relationship between military organization and societal cohesion. Armies are structured not merely to conquer, but to embody and transmit principles of merit, discipline, and leadership. Officers advance according to ability, courage, and performance, creating a system in which talent is recognized and ambition is directed toward collective objectives. Military structures serve as microcosms of society, demonstrating the principles of hierarchy, law, and merit in action, and reinforcing the philosophical consistency of Napoleon's worldview. Authority in both civil and military contexts is legitimized by effectiveness, recognition, and the alignment of individual and collective objectives. Perception and symbolic action are central. Public recognition, ceremonial displays, and visible affirmation of leadership reinforce legitimacy and internalize obedience, embedding philosophical principles into societal consciousness. Religion complements these mechanisms by cultivating ethical norms and reinforcing civic responsibility. Subordinated to law and authority, religion stabilizes social behavior, aligning morality with governance without threatening rational structures. History, in Napoleon's understanding, functions as both a measure and demonstration of philosophical coherence. Structural conditions define possibilities, but decisive intervention by capable individuals translates potential into realized order. Institutions, laws, hierarchies, and meritocratic mechanisms create the conditions under which rational agency produces stability, productivity, and progress. Napoleon's philosophy is teleological. The validity of principles is assessed by their outcomes. Order enables liberty, merit justifies hierarchy, law structures behavior, religion reinforces ethics, and historical agency validates institutional design. Every reform, codification, administrative innovation, and strategic campaign enacts these principles, demonstrating that philosophy is both conceptual and operational. Napoleon's thought is thus pragmatic, systematic, and enduring. It harmonizes individual ambition with collective necessity, freedom with authority, law with morality, education with leadership, and historical agency with societal progress. His philosophy provides a comprehensive framework for understanding governance, institutional design, human motivation, and the organization of society, integrating every element into a coherent system capable of sustaining civilization, guiding human behavior, and achieving tangible historical outcomes. Napoleon's philosophy further explores the mechanisms by which institutions can harmonize individual initiative with collective stability. He recognized that human energy, when unrestricted, produces innovation, but also conflict, inefficiency, and disorder. Conversely, overly rigid structures stifle creativity, ambition, and adaptability. The synthesis of these observations forms a cornerstone of his thought. Structures must be both disciplined and flexible, hierarchies must be meritocratic yet coherent, and laws must provide clarity while accommodating necessary adaptation. This balance ensures that individual talent contributes to societal goals rather than undermining them. In civil administration, Napoleon applied this principle by structuring bureaucracies around competence and performance. Officials were promoted according to ability, ensuring that decisions were rational, effective, and aligned with the broader objectives of governance. Education reinforced this system by preparing citizens for roles of responsibility, instilling civic virtue, and providing the knowledge necessary to navigate legal and institutional frameworks. Together, education, meritocracy, and law create a cycle in which human potential is cultivated, channeled, and applied for societal benefit. In the military sphere, the same philosophy guided organization, command, and promotion. Officers advanced according to merit, skill, and courage, producing a leadership corps capable of decisive action and strategic insight. Soldiers, loyalty, and cohesion were maintained through discipline, recognition, and alignment of personal ambition with collective objectives. The army functioned as a microcosm of society, illustrating the operational coherence of Napoleon's worldview. Merit guides hierarchy, ambition is directed toward collective ends, and law and discipline provide structure and predictability. Religion complements these mechanisms by fostering ethical alignment and moral cohesion. Subordinate to civil authority, religious institutions reinforce obedience, civic responsibility, and shared values without challenging the rational structures of governance. In this system, morality, law, hierarchy, and ambition are harmonized to sustain order and enable progress. History, in Napoleon's conception, is both the arena for testing philosophy and the measure of its validity. Societies are shaped by material conditions, culture, and geography, yet the decisive interventions of exceptional leaders translate potential into realized outcomes. Institutions, codified laws, hierarchical structures, and meritocratic mechanisms provide the medium for action, ensuring that human energy, intelligence, and initiative produce measurable results in social stability and progress. Napoleon's philosophy is teleological. Its principles are validated by their outcomes. Stability is the precondition for liberty. Merit justifies hierarchy, law organizes behavior, religion reinforces morality, and historical agency realizes civilization. Authority is legitimate when recognized, effective, and aligned with institutional design. Ambition is productive when guided by merit and structured opportunity. Liberty and equality exist functionally within organized systems that prevent chaos while fostering personal advancement. Every law codified, every reform enacted, every educational initiative, and every military campaign exemplifies the operational application of these philosophical principles. Napoleon's thought is therefore simultaneously pragmatic, systematic, aspirational, and applied. It integrates human motivation, institutional design, leadership, and historical action into a coherent framework capable of producing stable, efficient, and progressive societies. It demonstrates that philosophy, rigorously enacted, is not merely theoretical, but instrumental in organizing human behavior, guiding collective action, and shaping the course of history. His philosophy harmonizes ambition with order, freedom with authority, individual potential with societal necessity, law with morality, and historical agency with structural design, providing a comprehensive vision of civilization in which every element is aligned to sustain stability, productivity, and progress over time. Napoleon's philosophy further investigates the interplay between societal structure and human psychology, recognizing that governance is as much a matter of perception and motivation as it is of law and hierarchy. He understood that authority is effective not only when enforced, but when recognized, internalized, and symbolically reinforced. Public rituals, ceremonial titles, military pageantry, and visible demonstrations of competence cultivate legitimacy, embedding the principles of governance within the collective consciousness of society. These symbolic structures are philosophical instruments. They shape behavior, align perception with institutional design, and stabilize social hierarchies. In civil administration, meritocratic hierarchies reinforce this principle. Advancement is based on skill, competence, and performance rather than birth or privilege, ensuring that leaders are capable and aligned with societal objectives. By integrating education into this system, Napoleon ensured a continual cultivation of talent, preparing future generations for responsible positions within both civil and military institutions. Citizens are not only subjects of law, but participants in a system that rewards ability, recognizes achievement, and channels ambition toward constructive outcomes. Religion, subordinated to law and state authority, complements this framework by providing moral discipline, reinforcing civic responsibility, and supporting social cohesion. Faith is instrumental rather than autonomous. It shapes ethical behavior without undermining rational governance. Through this integration, Napoleon achieves coherence between the moral, legal, and institutional dimensions of society, aligning individual behavior with collective goals. History, in Napoleon's framework, is both the arena in which philosophy is tested and the measure of its efficacy. Structural constraints, geography, resources, and cultural conditions set the boundaries of possibility, yet exceptional leaders with vision, decisiveness, and intelligence translate potential into realized outcomes. Institutions, laws, hierarchies, and meritocratic systems provide the framework through which rational agency produces stability, productivity, and progress. Leadership is therefore both philosophical and practical, requiring insight, foresight, and the ability to marshal human energies toward coherent objectives. Napoleon's philosophy is teleological. Outcomes are the ultimate measure of principle. Stability enables liberty, merit justifies hierarchy, law structures human behavior, religion reinforces morality, and historical agency validates institutional design. Authority is legitimate when recognized, effective, and aligned with institutional and societal goals. Ambition becomes productive when channeled by merit and hierarchical opportunity. Liberty and equality exist functionally within structured systems that prevent chaos while fostering personal advancement. Every reform, codification, administrative innovation, and military campaign is both a test and enactment of these philosophical principles. Napoleon's thought is therefore simultaneously applied, systematic, pragmatic, and aspirational. It harmonizes individual desire with societal necessity, freedom with authority, ambition with order, law with morality, and historical agency with structural coherence. Its enduring relevance lies in its ability to integrate human motivation, institutional design, leadership, and historical purpose into a unified functional system capable of sustaining civilization, directing collective behavior, and producing measurable outcomes. Napoleon's philosophy demonstrates that ideas, when rigorously enacted, are not abstract speculations, but instruments for shaping society, guiding human action, and influencing the course of history. Every law codified, every administrative structure implemented, every educational institution designed, and every military campaign conducted embodies this worldview. His philosophy aligns ambition with order, merit with hierarchy, freedom with structure, morality with law, and historical action with rational purpose, offering a comprehensive vision of governance, society, and civilization in which all elements operate coherently to sustain stability, productivity, and progress over time. Napoleon's philosophy also emphasizes the relationship between power and legitimacy, understanding that authority is effective only when recognized and internalized by the governed. Force alone cannot sustain order. Legitimacy must be established through law, meritocracy, education, and symbolic affirmation. Public recognition, ceremonial rituals, military pageantry, and visible displays of competence function as philosophical instruments, embedding authority into the collective consciousness. These mechanisms ensure that obedience is not merely coerced, but willingly accepted, reinforcing hierarchical structures and stabilizing society. In administration, meritocratic principles operationalize this philosophy. Advancement is based on competence, performance, and achievement rather than birth or privilege, aligning individual ambition with collective objectives. Education supports this system by cultivating talent, preparing citizens to assume responsible roles, and instilling civic and ethical values. Through these mechanisms, individuals are integrated into the broader societal structure, transforming personal ambition into a productive force for governance and social cohesion. Religion complements this system by providing moral guidance and ethical reinforcement. Subordinated to civil authority, it aligns behavior with societal norms, strengthens civic responsibility, and supports the legitimacy of institutional frameworks without challenging the rational exercise of law and governance. In the military sphere, these principles are equally evident. Officers are promoted based on ability, courage, and performance, ensuring that leadership is competent and aligned with strategic objectives. Soldiers are disciplined, yet their ambition and initiative are harnessed to advance collective goals. The army functions as a microcosm of society, demonstrating the operational coherence of Napoleon's philosophy. Merit guides hierarchy, ambition is directed toward collective ends, and discipline ensures predictability and effectiveness. History serves as both a measure and validation of this philosophy. Structural conditions, geography, economy, and culture define possibilities, yet decisive intervention by exceptional leaders converts potential into tangible outcomes. Institutions, codified laws, hierarchical structures, and meritocratic mechanisms provide the medium for action, allowing human energy, intelligence, and initiative to produce stability, productivity, and progress. Napoleon's thought is teleological. The success of principles is measured by their outcomes. Stability is the precondition for liberty. Merit justifies hierarchy, law organizes behavior, religion reinforces ethics, and historical agency realizes civilization. Authority is legitimate when recognized and effective. Ambition is productive when channeled through structured opportunity, and freedom and equality exist functionally within organized systems that prevent disorder while fostering personal advancement. Every law codified, every administrative reform, every educational initiative, and every military campaign represents the operationalization of these philosophical principles. Napoleon's philosophy is therefore simultaneously practical, systematic, applied, and aspirational. It integrates human motivation, institutional design, leadership, and historical agency into a coherent framework capable of producing stable, efficient, and progressive societies. It demonstrates that philosophy, rigorously enacted, is not abstract but instrumental in organizing human behavior, guiding collective action, and shaping the course of history. Every element, law, hierarchy, merit, religion, authority, ambition, and historical action, is interdependent, forming a system in which liberty is preserved within structured boundaries, equality is mediated through merit, authority is centralized and legitimate, ambition is directed toward productive ends, morality is reinforced by religion, and history is shaped by rational agency. Napoleon's philosophy harmonizes all these components, providing a comprehensive vision of governance, society, and civilization in which human potential, institutional design, and historical purpose are integrated into a unified system capable of sustaining stability, productivity, and progress over time. Napoleon's philosophy further examines the relationship between individual initiative and collective coherence, emphasizing that human societies function optimally when personal ambition is guided by structured frameworks. He understood that unchanneled desire and self-interest, while sources of innovation, also produce conflict, inefficiency, and disorder. Conversely, overly rigid systems suppress creativity and limit progress. The synthesis of these insights underpins his thought. Institutions must balance discipline with flexibility, hierarchies must reward merit while maintaining coherence, and laws must provide predictability while adapting to evolving circumstances. In civil governance, this principle manifests through meritocratic promotion and bureaucratic structures. Officials advance based on ability, performance, and alignment with societal objectives, ensuring that decisions are rational, effective, and consistent. Education underpins this system, cultivating talent, instilling civic virtue, and preparing citizens for positions of responsibility. The integration of education, meritocracy, and law creates a cycle in which human potential is developed, directed, and applied for collective benefit. In the military, these principles are mirrored in organization, command, and promotion. Officers rise through merit, skill, and demonstrated courage, producing leadership capable of decisive action and strategic insight. Soldiers, loyalty and cohesion are maintained through disciplined structures, recognition, and alignment of personal ambition with the objectives of the collective. The army thus functions as a microcosm of society, illustrating the operational coherence of Napoleon's philosophy. Merit guides hierarchy, ambition is directed toward collective ends, and law and discipline provide the necessary structure and predictability. Religion complements these mechanisms by fostering moral cohesion and reinforcing ethical alignment with societal objectives. Subordinated to law and civil authority, faith shapes conduct without overriding rational governance, stabilizing human behavior and supporting the legitimacy of hierarchical structures. History serves as the proving ground for this philosophy. Structural constraints such as geography, resources, and cultural conditions define possible outcomes, yet exceptional individuals with vision, decisiveness, and intelligence actualize potential, shaping events and institutions. Leaders translate philosophical principles into action, mobilizing human energy, enforcing law, and consolidating authority to achieve stability, productivity, and societal progress. Napoleon's thought is teleological. Outcomes, rather than abstract ideals, determine the validity of principles. Stability is the prerequisite for liberty, merit justifies hierarchy, law structures behavior, religion reinforces morality, and historical agency validates institutional design. Authority is legitimate when recognized, effective, and consistent. Ambition is productive when channeled through structured opportunity. Liberty and equality exist within functional systems that prevent chaos while enabling personal advancement. Every reform, codification, administrative innovation, and military campaign enacts these principles, demonstrating that philosophy is operational as well as conceptual. Napoleon's thought harmonizes ambition with order, freedom with authority, individual initiative with collective stability, law with morality, and historical agency with structural design. Its enduring relevance lies in its capacity to integrate human motivation, institutional design, leadership, and historical purpose into a unified framework capable of sustaining civilization, directing human behavior, and producing tangible outcomes over time. Every law, institution, educational initiative, and military strategy reflects this philosophy, providing a comprehensive vision of governance, society, and civilization in which all elements operate coherently to sustain stability, productivity, and progress. Napoleon's philosophy is therefore simultaneously systematic, applied, pragmatic, and aspirational, demonstrating that ideas, when rigorously enacted, can shape societies, guide behavior, and influence history. Napoleon's philosophy also emphasizes the integration of ambition, law, and hierarchical authority as a system for sustaining social order. He understood that human desire and initiative are essential engines of progress, but if left unchecked, they produce fragmentation and disorder. By channeling ambition through meritocratic structures and codified law, Napoleon converts personal drive into a stabilizing force for society. Meritocracy ensures that talent, diligence, and skill are rewarded, transforming personal aspiration into collective productivity. Hierarchical authority structures this energy, providing clear responsibilities, accountability, and coherent decision-making. In civil governance, this integration is evident in the design of bureaucracies and administrative institutions. Officials advance according to competence and alignment with societal objectives, ensuring that decisions are rational, effective, and consistent. Education reinforces this system, cultivating knowledge, discipline, and civic virtue, preparing citizens for responsible roles within the hierarchy and creating a continuous renewal of leadership. Law codified through the Napoleonic Code underpins these structures by providing predictability, clarity, and consistency in civil, commercial, and property interactions. It functions as an operational instrument, structuring social behavior, mediating disputes, and protecting rights in a manner that sustains order and aligns individual action with collective objectives. In the military, Napoleon applies the same principles. Officers are promoted based on ability, performance, and courage, ensuring competent leadership aligned with strategic goals. Soldiers, loyalty, and initiative are harnessed through discipline, recognition, and structured opportunity, demonstrating the operational coherence of his philosophy. Merit directs hierarchy, ambition serves collective ends, and discipline ensures predictability and effectiveness. Religion complements this system by providing moral guidance, ethical reinforcement, and social cohesion. Subordinated to civil authority, religion aligns behavior with institutional objectives, stabilizes communities, and reinforces the legitimacy of hierarchical governance. Napoleon's philosophy integrates these dimensions into a unified framework in which law, hierarchy, merit, ambition, education, religion, and historical agency mutually reinforce one another. History serves as the arena in which this philosophy is tested and validated. Structural conditions, geography, resources, and culture define possibilities, yet exceptional leaders with vision, intelligence, and decisiveness convert potential into tangible outcomes. Institutions and laws create the framework within which rational agency produces stability, productivity, and progress, ensuring that ambition and talent serve societal goals rather than undermining them. Napoleon's thought is teleological. Principles are measured by their practical effects. Stability is the precondition for liberty, merit justifies hierarchy, law structures behavior, religion reinforces morality, and historical agency validates institutional design. Authority is legitimate when recognized, effective, and aligned with social objectives. Ambition becomes productive when guided by merit and structured opportunity. Liberty and equality exist functionally within organized systems that prevent chaos while fostering advancement. Every law, administrative reform, educational initiative, and military campaign exemplifies the operational application of these philosophical principles. Napoleon's philosophy is pragmatic, systematic, applied, and aspirational. It harmonizes individual initiative with collective necessity, freedom with authority, ambition with order, law with morality, and historical agency with structural coherence. Its enduring relevance lies in its capacity to integrate human motivation, institutional design, leadership, and historical purpose into a unified system capable of sustaining civilization, directing behavior, and achieving measurable outcomes over time. Every reform, codification, institution, and strategic action embodies this philosophy, demonstrating that ideas, when rigorously applied, can shape societies, guide human action, and influence the course of history. Napoleon's philosophy is therefore operational, systematic, and teleological, providing a comprehensive framework for governance, societal organization, and historical progress, in which all elements work together to sustain stability, productivity, and enduring advancement. Napoleon's philosophy further explores the mechanisms by which societies maintain coherence while enabling human potential. He recognized that individuals are naturally motivated by ambition, desire for recognition, and the pursuit of advantage, but without structured guidance, these impulses can generate disorder and conflict. To transform individual energy into a productive force, Napoleon emphasizes the integration of meritocratic advancement, hierarchical authority, and codified law. Meritocracy ensures that talent, skill, and diligence are rewarded, aligning personal ambition with societal objectives. Hierarchies structure these efforts, providing clarity of responsibility, accountability, and coordinated action. Law provides predictability, stability, and enforceable standards, ensuring that individual initiative operates within boundaries conducive to order. Education reinforces this system by cultivating knowledge, discipline, and civic virtue. Through schools, academies, and military institutions, citizens are prepared to assume positions of responsibility, ensuring that competence underpins authority and that institutional integrity is maintained. This continuous cultivation of talent creates a self-sustaining system in which merit, hierarchy, and law mutually reinforce one another, allowing human energy to be directed toward collective goals without undermining stability. Religion, subordinated to state authority, complements these mechanisms by providing moral discipline, reinforcing civic responsibility, and promoting social cohesion. While faith is not the source of governance, it stabilizes behavior and aligns ethical conduct with institutional objectives, integrating morality into the broader system of governance. In military organization, Napoleon's philosophy is applied with particular precision. Officers advance according to merit, performance, and courage, ensuring competent leadership capable of strategic foresight. Soldiers, loyalty, cohesion, and initiative are harnessed through structured discipline, symbolic recognition, and alignment of personal ambition with collective objectives. The army thus functions as a microcosm of society, demonstrating the operational coherence of his philosophy. Ambition is productive when guided by merit, hierarchy channels action toward common goals, and discipline provides predictability and effectiveness. History serves as both the arena and measure of Napoleon's philosophy. Structural constraints, geography, resources, and culture define the limits of possibility, yet exceptional leaders convert potential into realized outcomes. Institutions, codified laws, hierarchical structures, and meritocratic mechanisms provide the medium through which rational agency produces stability, efficiency, and progress. Napoleon's philosophy is teleological. The effectiveness of principles is determined by their outcomes. Stability is the prerequisite for liberty, merit justifies hierarchy, law structures behavior, religion reinforces morality, and historical agency validates institutional design. Authority is legitimate when recognized and effective. Ambition is productive when channeled through structured opportunity. Liberty and equality exist functionally within organized systems that prevent chaos while fostering advancement. Every law codified, every administrative reform, every educational program, and every military campaign enacts these principles, demonstrating that philosophy is operational as well as conceptual. Napoleon's thought harmonizes individual initiative with collective necessity, freedom with authority, ambition with order, law with morality, and historical agency with structural coherence. Its enduring relevance lies in its ability to integrate human motivation, institutional design, leadership, and historical purpose into a unified framework capable of sustaining civilization, directing behavior, and achieving tangible outcomes. Every element, law, hierarchy, merit, religion, authority, ambition, education, and historical action, operates interdependently, forming a system in which all components reinforce one another. Napoleon's philosophy provides a comprehensive vision of governance, society, and civilization in which human potential, structural design, and historical purpose are aligned to maintain stability, productivity, and progress over time. It demonstrates that ideas, when rigorously enacted, can shape human behavior, organize society, and influence the course of history, making philosophy both practical and enduring in its application. Napoleon's philosophy also investigates the interplay between institutional structure and human motivation, emphasizing that the effective organization of society depends on aligning individual ambition with collective goals. He understood that human beings are naturally driven by the pursuit of recognition, personal advantage, and achievement, and that these impulses, if left unchecked, can lead to fragmentation, inefficiency, and conflict. To harness this energy productively, Napoleon integrates meritocratic advancement, hierarchical authority, and codified law into a coherent system. Meritocracy ensures that competence, talent, and effort are recognized and rewarded, creating incentives for individuals to act in ways that benefit society. Hierarchical structures provide clarity, coordination, and accountability, enabling organized action and preventing disorder. Law offers predictability, enforceable standards, and a framework within which personal initiative can operate without undermining social stability. Education functions as both preparation and reinforcement, cultivating knowledge, discipline, and civic virtue, while systematically identifying and developing talent capable of sustaining the administrative and military machinery. Religion complements this framework by shaping morality, reinforcing civic responsibility, and promoting ethical cohesion. Subordinated to civil authority, it aligns ethical behavior with institutional goals, stabilizing society without challenging rational governance. In military organization, these principles are operationalized with precision. Officers are promoted based on demonstrated ability, strategic insight, and courage, ensuring that leadership is competent and aligned with broader objectives. Soldiers' loyalty, discipline, and initiative are harnessed through structured hierarchies and recognition, allowing ambition to serve collective ends. The army, in effect, becomes a microcosm of society, exemplifying the harmonization of merit, hierarchy, discipline, and ambition. History is both the testing ground and validation of Napoleon's philosophy. While structural conditions, geography, resources, culture define the boundaries of possibility, exceptional leaders actualize potential through rational, decisive action. Institutions, codified laws, hierarchical frameworks, and meritocratic mechanisms serve as instruments through which human energy is converted into stability, productivity, and progress. Napoleon's philosophy is fundamentally teleological. Principles are judged by their effectiveness in producing tangible results. Stability enables liberty, merit justifies hierarchy, law organizes behavior, religion reinforces ethics, and historical agency validates institutional design. Authority is legitimate when recognized, effective, and aligned with social objectives. Ambition is productive when guided by meritocratic opportunity. Liberty and equality exist functionally within structured systems that prevent chaos while enabling personal advancement. Every administrative reform, legal codification, educational initiative, and military campaign is a practical enactment of these principles. Napoleon's thought is simultaneously applied, systematic, pragmatic, and aspirational. It harmonizes individual initiative with collective necessity, freedom with authority, ambition with order, law with morality, and historical agency with structural coherence. Its enduring relevance lies in its capacity to integrate human motivation, institutional design, leadership, and historical purpose into a unified system capable of sustaining civilization, guiding human behavior, and achieving measurable outcomes. Every component, law, hierarchy, merit, religion, authority, ambition, education, and historical action, functions interdependently, forming a coherent system in which liberty is preserved within structured boundaries, equality is mediated through merit, authority is centralized and legitimate, ambition is directed toward productive ends, morality is reinforced, and historical outcomes are shaped through rational agency. Napoleon's philosophy provides a comprehensive vision of governance, society, and civilization, demonstrating that ideas, when rigorously enacted, can organize society, guide human behavior, and shape the course of history. Its operational, systematic, and teleological character ensures that individual potential, structural design, and historical purpose are integrated to sustain stability, productivity, and progress over time. Napoleon's philosophy further examines the intricate balance between individual liberty and collective stability, emphasizing that human freedom must be exercised within structures that preserve order and productivity. He recognized that absolute liberty, unbounded by law or hierarchy, produces disorder, while excessive restriction stifles initiative, creativity, and societal advancement. To resolve this tension, Napoleon integrates meritocratic principles, codified law, and hierarchical authority into a coherent system. Meritocracy ensures that talent, skill, and effort are rewarded, aligning personal ambition with societal objectives. Hierarchy structures responsibilities, clarifies authority, and facilitates coordinated action, preventing fragmentation. Law provides predictability, standards of conduct, and enforceable frameworks, ensuring that individual initiative operates within boundaries conducive to stability. Education supports this integration by cultivating competence, discipline, and civic virtue. Institutions, academies, and military schools identify and develop talent, preparing future leaders to sustain administrative, civil, and military systems. Religion, subordinated yet functional, reinforces moral and ethical cohesion. By aligning individual behavior with societal norms, religion complements civil authority and law, ensuring that morality and social stability are mutually reinforced. In the military domain, these principles are operationalized with precision. Officers are promoted according to ability, courage, and performance, ensuring that leadership is competent, strategic, and aligned with collective objectives. Soldiers' loyalty, initiative, and discipline are coordinated through structured hierarchies and recognition, channeling ambition toward the common good. The army functions as a microcosm of society, demonstrating the operational coherence of Napoleon's philosophy. Merit directs hierarchy, ambition serves collective ends, and discipline ensures predictability and effectiveness. History, in Napoleon's framework, validates this integration. While structural conditions, geography, resources, and culture define possible outcomes, exceptional individuals actualize potential through rational, decisive action. Institutions, laws, hierarchies, and meritocratic mechanisms provide the medium through which human energy is converted into social stability, productivity, and progress. Napoleon's philosophy is teleological. the legitimacy of principles is determined by their capacity to produce tangible results. Stability enables liberty, merit justifies hierarchy, law organizes behavior, religion reinforces ethics, and historical agency validates institutional design. Authority is legitimate when recognized and effective, ambition is productive when channeled through structured opportunity, and freedom and equality exist functionally within organized systems that prevent chaos while enabling advancement. Every law codified, administrative reform implemented, educational initiative established, and military campaign executed demonstrates the practical enactment of these principles. Napoleon's philosophy is therefore simultaneously systematic, applied, pragmatic, and aspirational. It harmonizes individual initiative with collective necessity, freedom with authority, ambition with order, law with morality, and historical agency with structural coherence. Its enduring relevance lies in its capacity to integrate human motivation, institutional design, leadership, and historical purpose into a unified system capable of sustaining civilization, guiding human behavior, and achieving measurable outcomes over time. Every element, law, hierarchy, merit, religion, authority, ambition, education, and historical agency, functions interdependently, creating a coherent system in which liberty is preserved within structured boundaries, equality is operationalized through merit, authority is centralized and legitimate, ambition is directed toward productive ends, morality is reinforced, and historical outcomes are shaped through rational agency. Napoleon's philosophy offers a comprehensive, operational, and teleological vision of governance, society, and civilization, demonstrating that ideas, when rigorously applied, can structure human behavior, organize society, and influence the course of history, sustaining stability, productivity, and long-term progress. Napoleon's philosophy further explores the role of foresight and strategic planning in the governance of society, emphasizing that the effectiveness of leadership is determined by the ability to anticipate, adapt, and coordinate human action within structural constraints. He recognized that human ambition, talent, and initiative are powerful forces that, if properly guided, can produce remarkable achievements, but if left unmanaged, lead to disorder and inefficiency. To harness these forces, Napoleon integrates meritocratic advancement, hierarchical authority, codified law, and education into a cohesive system. Meritocracy ensures that individuals are rewarded for competence, skill, and diligence, aligning personal ambition with societal objectives. Hierarchy clarifies authority, structures responsibilities, and facilitates coordination, preventing fragmentation and enhancing the capacity for collective action. Law provides predictability, enforceable standards, and an operational framework that structures human behavior, ensuring that initiative occurs within boundaries conducive to social stability. Education reinforces these principles by cultivating knowledge, discipline, and civic virtue, preparing citizens to assume responsible roles within administrative, civil, and military hierarchies. Religion complements this integration by fostering ethical behavior, reinforcing civic responsibility, and promoting social cohesion. Subordinated to civil authority, faith aligns moral conduct with institutional goals, supporting both legitimacy and stability without undermining rational governance. In the military sphere, Napoleon's philosophy is applied with rigorous precision. Officers rise through merit, skill, and performance, producing a leadership core capable of strategic foresight and decisive action. Soldiers, loyalty, discipline, and initiative are harnessed through structured hierarchies and recognition, channeling personal ambition toward collective objectives. The army thus serves as a microcosm of society, demonstrating the coherence and operational application of Napoleon's philosophical principles. Merit directs hierarchy, ambition serves common goals, and discipline ensures predictability and effectiveness. History functions as both the testing ground and validation of this philosophy. Structural constraints, geography, resources, and cultural conditions set limits on possibility, yet exceptional leaders actualize potential, converting latent energy into realized outcomes. Institutions, laws, hierarchies. and meritocratic mechanisms provide the medium through which rational agency produces social stability, productivity, and historical progress. Napoleon's philosophy is teleological. The legitimacy of principles is determined by their ability to produce tangible results. Stability enables liberty, merit justifies hierarchy, law structures behavior, religion reinforces ethics, and historical agency validates institutional design. Authority is legitimate when recognized, effective, and aligned with social objectives. Ambition is productive when channeled through structured opportunity, and freedom and equality exist within systems that prevent chaos while fostering advancement. Every codified law, administrative reform, educational program, and military campaign embodies these principles in practice. Napoleon's philosophy is simultaneously systematic, applied, pragmatic, and aspirational. It harmonizes individual initiative with collective necessity, freedom with authority, ambition with order, law with morality, and historical agency with structural coherence. Its enduring relevance lies in its capacity to integrate human motivation, institutional design, leadership, and historical purpose into a unified framework capable of sustaining civilization, guiding human behavior, and producing measurable outcomes. Every component, law, hierarchy, merit, religion, authority, ambition, education, and historical action, functions interdependently, creating a coherent system in which liberty is preserved within structured boundaries, equality is operationalized through merit, authority is centralized and legitimate, ambition is directed toward productive ends, morality is reinforced, and historical outcomes are shaped through rational agency. Napoleon's philosophy thus provides a comprehensive, operational, and teleological vision of governance, society, and civilization, demonstrating that ideas, when rigorously enacted, can structure human behavior, organize social institutions, and influence the course of history, sustaining stability, productivity, and long-term societal progress. Napoleon's philosophy culminates in the understanding that all aspects of human society, law, hierarchy, merit, education, religion, ambition, and historical agency, must operate in an integrated, coherent system to sustain civilization and guide collective action. He recognized that freedom and ambition are fundamental to human nature, yet they must be exercised within structures that prevent chaos and inefficiency. Meritocracy channels personal drive into socially productive outcomes, ensuring that talent, skill, and effort are rewarded, creating incentives for excellence and aligning individual aspirations with collective objectives. Hierarchy provides clarity, accountability, and coordination, enabling collective action to be coherent, predictable, and effective. Codified law structures society, offering enforceable standards and frameworks within which freedom, equality, and ambition can operate safely and productively. Education cultivates knowledge, discipline, and civic virtue, preparing individuals to assume responsibility within civil, administrative, and military hierarchies. Religion, subordinated yet instrumental, reinforces moral and ethical cohesion, stabilizing behavior and legitimizing authority without compromising rational governance. In the military, these principles are applied with precision. Leadership is selected based on merit, courage, and skill, while soldiers, discipline, initiative, and loyalty are aligned with collective objectives, transforming ambition into service and effectiveness. History serves both as the arena for testing these principles and as a validation of their efficacy. While structural conditions, geography, resources, culture define the possibilities of human action, exceptional leaders convert potential into realized outcomes. Institutions, laws, hierarchies, and meritocratic mechanisms allow rational agency to produce stability, productivity, and progress, demonstrating that philosophy is validated through practical results. Napoleon's philosophy is teleological. Principles are measured by their outcomes. Stability is the precondition for liberty. Merit justifies hierarchy. Law organizes behavior. Religion reinforces morality. And historical agency actualizes civilization. Authority is legitimate when recognized, effective, and aligned with societal goals. Ambition is productive when channeled through structured opportunity. Freedom and equality exist functionally within ordered systems that prevent disorder while fostering advancement. Every law codified, administrative reform enacted, educational institution established, and military campaign executed is an operational enactment of this philosophy. Napoleon's thought is simultaneously systematic, applied, pragmatic, and aspirational. It harmonizes individual initiative with collective necessity, freedom with authority, ambition with order, law with morality, and historical agency with structural coherence. Its enduring relevance lies in its capacity to integrate human motivation, institutional design, leadership, and historical purpose into a unified framework capable of sustaining civilization, guiding human behavior, and producing measurable outcomes. Every element, law, hierarchy, merit, religion, authority, ambition, education, and historical agency, functions interdependently, forming a coherent system in which liberty is preserved within structured boundaries, equality is operationalized through merit, authority is centralized and legitimate, ambition is directed toward productive ends, morality is reinforced, and historical outcomes are shaped through rational agency. Napoleon's philosophy provides a comprehensive, operational, and teleological vision of governance, society, and civilization, demonstrating that ideas, rigorously applied, can organize human behavior, shape institutions, and influence the course of history. It represents a systematic integration of thought and action, showing that stability, productivity, and progress arise not from abstract ideals alone, but from the disciplined, coordinated, and rational application of principles to human society. By harmonizing ambition, freedom, morality, merit, authority, law, education, religion, and historical agency into a single coherent framework, Napoleon offers a vision in which human potential is maximized, societal order is preserved, and civilization advances through reasoned, strategic, and disciplined action, creating enduring systems capable of sustaining stability, fostering growth, and achieving tangible historical progress across generations. In essence, Napoleon's philosophy is a blueprint for applied governance, a synthesis of human nature, institutional design, and historical understanding, demonstrating that ideas, when operationalized with precision and coherence, can produce societies that are orderly, productive, and resilient, capable of enduring challenges, channeling human energy toward collective objectives, and leaving a measurable impact on the course of history.